Right, hello. This is the second part in my series on introduction to Jahshaka. So the first one went through the desktop, just looking at basically the basic functions of it. One of the ones I realised afterwards I forgot, but it's fairly obvious, is if you need to delete a clip, just select it, click on delete. So we're going to do that for a load of stuff. Unfortunately, there's no way of mass selecting, which is really annoying when you want to delete stuff. There's no, I don't know why they didn't put that in there, but yeah, they didn't get around to putting that in there. Now, I've left this media because I want to go through and use that as an example when we're going through the different modules. So I'm going to go down the left here and just go through the main modules because that's what I class as the main modules. So obviously we've looked at the desktop. There's animation, there's effects, there's editing, there's paint, there's text. Some of them pretty much do what it says on the tin really. So we'll start on the text one. I haven't actually ever used this, I'll be honest with you. I don't see any reason for using such a thing. So if I click on add layer and I say outline, then I click on layers, so it's got 3D text there, and I can type in wherever I want. So no, yeah, whatever, do that, mate. I don't. And now my computer's probably about to crash. So as you can see, and then you can change the font to the extremely vast amount that they have here. I'm sure there's probably a way of sending these, especially if these are DLL files or whatever type of files. I don't know, that says .ttf, so I'm sure if you can download more fonts you can add them in. So we'll put Comic Sans, and then you can change the color to red, hey ho, and then you got a bunch of controls, so then you can move it, rotate it, however you want to do it, you can do it. And this is all keyframeable. So to, obviously it's pretty simple, just drag left, right, however you want to rotate them. To reset them, go to the where the numerical value is and just left double click. It resets everything to 0. Transparency, I don't think that really affects these, but yeah. So then you have different styles. So as you remember, when I clicked on add layer, it said polygon, 3D extrude, textured, light. You can also change that here. So once you've created this is outline one, you can have polygon, 3D extrude, or textured. So there's the 3D extrude ones, which if we then decide to change it, you can see there it's actually got 3D depth. And then there's the polygon one, which is basically the outline one filled in. And then there's textured. Don't really know how the textured one works, to be honest. I think you can just get a picture and it'll probably make the picture into hello, kind of like, not really, I'm honestly not sure how that works. I'm not really sure how that would work at all. But hey ho, you've got an idea of how it works. Delete, add layer. So you've got, the one thing about Jahshaka is you've always got a world layer on pretty much everyone except for the editing module. You've always got a world layer, and that's like your base layer. In most of my videos you'll see I never touch it because, especially in the animation module, which is what I use, it tends to kind of be the camera layer. So if you move that and you've carefully placed everything on layers above, you could end up getting everything out of sync, especially if like you look at my parallax tutorial. So in that we use 2 extra layers, and we use this layer as the actual layer for animation. That's why this layer has all the stuff like load, append, save, which a layer on top wouldn't apply to. So if we go to the 3D text and click on layer, it has all this stuff, but on world layer it has aliasing, world grid, title safe, and all these extra stuff, which is basically just general to the entire project overall. So anything you do on this will affect the entire project. So here you might be thinking, oh, I'm changing the actual orientation of the Jahshaka. I'm not. I'm actually changing the position of the camera that's looking at it. To change the actual Jahshaka the way it's looking, I have to go click on the Jahshaka layer and move it that way. If you understand what I mean, it's really hard to explain. So basically, you're looking at, let's say, a box, right? And you're looking at the front of the box. If you move your camera to the left, now you're no longer looking at the front of the box. You're probably looking at a part of the front and part of the side. And that's what the world layer does when you change anything on the world layer. But if you then put the camera in one position but change the box, that's what's happening when you're actually clicking on the Jahshaka layer. Hope that makes sense. So I want to reset all this. So I'm going to click on go to scene, click on reset all, and it resets everything. If you click on clear scene, it gets rid of everything. So I've got this. Now let's say I wanted to make an animation of this thing coming in. So the first thing I want to do is I'll go to my end scene, and I will position it where I want it. So I'm going to take the X translation, I'll move it across, I'll move it down a bit, and I'll click on plus. So that's where it's going to end. Now I'll go to my first scene, my first frame. So as you can see, all you do is just drag along here, and I'm going to bring it forward in the Z direction. So I'm just dragging. So left click, drag, and it brings it forward in the Z direction. Now I know this has reached its end, but you can actually go further than that, as you can see with me doing this. And then if you click on plus again, that adds another keyframe. Then click on play, and there you go. Playing nice and smoothly. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So that's the text module. I don't really use it, to be honest with you. There's reasons you'll find out later on. Let me just double check. But yeah, there's reasons you'll find out later on as to why I don't use the text module at all. I personally think it's quite a useless module. But yeah, that's the text module for you. If you need any more help with it, let me know. I'll see what I can do. But it is really a redundant module. You don't really need to use it at all. The next module is the paint module. As you guessed, it allows you to paint stuff. For simple stuff, it's good. So let's click on the bucket fill tool. We're going to fill it with, let's call it blue for the sky. And then click. And hey ho, we've got the sky. Now let's make some hills. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the brush and click on pen, because when you're doing anything with pen or line, it uses, or brush, it uses the pen color. But when you're using anything that fills in a void or space, it uses the fill color. It's a bit annoying, but it works. So I'm going to click on green. Then I'm just going to draw some hills. There you go. But I want all this stuff underneath to be green. So I'm going to go back to my fill. I'm going to a fill bucket. I'm going to change my fill color to the same green. I bet you this won't work. Oh, there it is. And so now I've got some hills, got some things. Now I could, for example, start adding some clouds. So I'm going to go click on the circle. These circles are really hard to use, I have to admit. Just the way they form. As you can see, it's not really a good attempt, but you kind of get the picture of how you would go about making a cloud. I've actually got a better one on my video on how to add sound to Jahshaka, where they actually look 10 times better. And then let's say we wanted to add a stream, so I'm going to go back to my paintbrush, click on pen, make it dark blue, click on fill, make that dark blue, and then I'm going to add a stream in coming from here, going there, yeah, going there, and then I want to obviously fill that in, so click on my fill bucket, and hey ho, actually looks half decent. There is a problem with this, and one thing is there's no zoom, as you might have noticed. The other thing is that if it finally, as you can see, there's black bars on the top and black bars on the bottom. I don't because there's no zoom, you can't zoom out, which means that it fits it to there, but it's got the bars on top, and it's really annoying. It is really, really annoying because you always forget about it. So it's something just worth remembering. There is a triangle facility as well, but it's really hard to use. It's really, really hard to use. I don't understand why you'd use that. There's a square functionality, and again, it's like kind of like Windows Paint, so you can make a square with an outline or a filled in square, and the same thing with the triangles and same thing with the circles. Then you have your line, so, and there's no ability to curve on these, so in fact Paint is probably better. You can adjust the line width down here to however you want it to. You can adjust the alpha on it, so the transparency of your line width, which is nice. There's a eraser, so you can then erase stuff. How well it works doesn't really, to be honest. They are undo, redo, delete. Again, they're very buggy. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It does seem to have an unlimited number of undos, so that's quite good about it. There's copy, there's paste. I've never used them because I don't know how to select. Now there's a blend mode, which if you look at my blendings video, really doesn't really seem to work. I don't know, I've never tried it. Again, I only use this module. I do use this module for simple effects. I do plan on making a tutorial about using this module to make a lightsaber effect. That comes out okay-ish, I suppose. Then there's an effects tab. Again, there's a bunch of effects on here which I don't see why you'd ever use, especially in a video editing program, because the one problem with this entire Paint module is it doesn't keyframe or doesn't tween as far as I can see. Well, from what I've tried anyway, which basically is a bit of a problem. So if we reset all clear scene, so on this scene, if I was, let's say, to make a blue background and then make a green square there, as you can see, it only appears on one frame. It won't interpolate that in any way, shape or form. You'd have to go through every single frame and do the exact same picture for every single frame, which is quite annoying. Right, I'm going to clear everything, reset all. So that's the text module and the paint module. As I said, the text module, I don't see any need for it, and you shouldn't really be needing to use it. The paint module is basic. It's actually extremely basic, but for the very quick test or the very quick thing and the odd thing, it will actually come in quite handy, and you'll see that later on. One big thing to note about the paint module is that if actually you can load stuff into it. So this is why in my first module I said get this taskbar on the side, because this is how you could the easiest way of loading a clip into any of the modules. You can click on get desktop, click on lightsaber, then click on return, and it brings it in, or you just drag it across from there. I find it easier to drag it across from there, especially if you're working with 4 or 5 different clips. So if we're going through here, and let's say I wanted to just single myself out here using the paint module of all things. So I'm going to actually change this all to black. What I could do, quite simply, is go to the fill bucket and then change the fill bucket range to quite a high value. Then click anywhere outside here. As you can see, it starts doing stuff. So if I and there's no undo, which is nice. And this is one of the weird things about this module, is that the undo randomly disappears. See if I could clear it and then do it again. So we start there. Oh, maybe not. It's quite funny, it was working earlier on, but as you can see, the basic principle is by selecting it, you can then start blocking out things that you don't want, and by doing that, you can get rid of a lot of stuff. It'll become more clear in my lightsaber tutorial, but that's basically the way that I then use to make out a lightsaber, because I create a lightsaber and then everything else I just paint black, and by doing that I can then screen that against my original footage and make the whole lightsaber swirly thing. Okay, thank you for watching, and I hope this has been informative. Sorry if it hasn't. If you've got any questions, just let me know and I'll try to help you as best I can.